overview of FeedHive, my favorite social media management tool. I found it to be much better than Buffer and all of the other social media platforms out there. I mean the tools out there, Hootsuite and everything. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of overview of FeedHive, show you how to create a post, show you some of my cool features, show you some advanced features, and just show you the possibilities of this tool and why it's so good. And also just give you a little bit overview of the pricing and everything, all right? And I hope the video is helpful. So this is the dashboard, right? I have a dark view open, but you can also have like a light view. I just prefer dark mode. But let's kind of get started with creating our first post, right? So I'm just gonna go in here and create a post, right? Now, first of all, for example, I can create a post about, here's how to, get a baking, how to make a baking blog successful. Um, write content, get traffic, monetize that traffic. Yeah. You can obviously add media to it. You can add polls, Twitter polls and everything. But what's more interesting on like a really basic level is that you can actually see a preview of the post, right? Now, this preview changes based on which social media platform you choose, right? So if let's say here I want to post this on my LinkedIn, right? So the preview is going to kind of show a LinkedIn view, right? If you want to post it as well as on my Twitter, right? It shows you, how it would look on Twitter, right? And then, what you can also do is add like a first comment, right? Based on a certain condition. You know, you can either add it automatically or you can, add a condition to it. Let's say, for example, sign up for my course. Okay. And then I can add a condition that so conditions aren't supported on LinkedIn. So let's say we'll just keep it to Twitter, right? I can add a condition like, usually it can be something like, once it, if the, if it performs on average or if it gets like more than 2 likes, the first comment goes out, right? So you can basically put sorts of comments. This is like one of the very powerful features of FeedHive, right? It allows you to just automate so many aspects of it, right? Then what's also pretty awesome is that you can actually post reels, to your Instagram reels, and you can post YouTube shorts, and you can post on TikTok everything. I just use Instagram and YouTube, so that's what you see here. But I need some video content in here. Yeah, but like that's kind of like the general idea. You can also kind of um retweet something, after 12 hours to increase the reach of your tweet. And lastly, what you can do is you can put your posts under certain labels, right? So for example, I have these labels. Sometimes I post a meme, sometimes I have a critical thinking post, sometimes it's a tip, sometimes it's a question. And the thing is that this allows you to see the performance of a certain category of posts, and then you can kind of even customize what category post goes out on what day, what time. I'll get to that in a bit, but that's the basic overview. You can create a post here, and then you can pick a time when it wants to go out, and it'll actually show you the best hours, right? So in the afternoon, what's the best time? It'll automatically do that, and then it gets added, right? And then you can also shorten the links. So if you have a link, to the blog or something, you can do that, right? That's essentially it. Now, the interesting thing is that, let's say for example, you know you had you're not able, you just don't know what to write about, right? Like sometimes you're just out of ideas, right? And that's where their inspiration templates are really really helpful. They have these AI generated idea templates, right? So for example, um let's say, share the main reasons that you do what you do, right? So I'm just going to click on use inspiration, and what it does is, it put, so sorry, this was selected here. I can just add this here, right? The other day one of my clients said da, 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 that's exactly why I do what I do, right? Like for example, one of my clients said, you just made my business happen, right? And that's exactly why I do what I do, right? Or some kind of, and their templates are really nice, right? Like, so for example, um, share a tip that saves people money. Okay. So, this product is a bit pricey, but it's worth every penny, right? So, for example, FeedHive may be a bit pricey, but it's worth every penny. I've been using it for a year, still super happy with it. It does exactly what it says, and then you can kind of go in. And sometimes the templates are even much more, um, much more uh, descriptive, right? Like we can see like this one, right? What's the first thing you do when you do? Like this can be a question, right? So my point is that this inspiration template is really, really good. It just allows you to, have a lot of ideas, and they have a lot of templates. You don't have to worry about going through them, and it's pretty good to generate content ideas. Now, the second thing is you can create certain templates, right? So, for example, let's say I have a post, and I have to every time if a post does well, I want to kind of put a comment about promoting my course, right? So you can create a template for it and then just paste that in here, right? So for example, um, I have a template about my course, so I'm just going to click on use this template. What it does is that if you like what I tweet, you learn a lot from my upcoming early stage marketing course, and you can sign up for it here. um and just like that, you can have multiple templates. So I have one for if it's a post about something advice, I push my podcast there, that um then what you can also do is you can auto generate hashtags, right? So for example, why is feed hive awesome, right? And then I'm just going to add in here um, easy to use, um, you know, awesome features, create, build your social media presence. Okay. Now, um, now I don't have a hashtag group, but what I can do is I can auto generate hashtags. So we'll get to that in a bit. I'll just explain that to you. Um, the other thing that you can also do is you can let AI predict how well this post will perform, right? So I'm just going to try this one, right? It's a little bit random. I don't think it'll perform well, but apparently it does think it'll perform well. To be honest, like the whole performance prediction thing is not very accurate. Kind of seems random because sometimes a post that I really put my heart and soul into, it just shows like a performance prediction of 14 or 20, right? And that just hurts my ego. But I'm just kidding. But like it's not accurate. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too like I wouldn't rely on this, but sometimes it can be indicative of like, oh, this is what I need to do to make the post successful. And then lastly, what you can also do in here is you can add variables, right? So for example, if you've got a post, it's like um hey, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, right? So what you can do is you can add a variable for platform, right? So I'm just going to use the variable here. Just going to put this here. And now what it's going to do is, hey, LinkedIn, here's why FeedHive is awesome, right? Or hey, Twitter, here's why FeedHive is awesome. I don't think it shows in the preview, right? But like this is how it works. You can also have different variables. For example, right, name of the account that you're posting from. Sometimes you want to kind of put the first tweet so that people like if you have a Twitter thread, if you want to if you want people to retweet the first tweet of that thread, you can basically reference that first tweet, right? So it'll do that. um yeah, so I mean, like there's a lot, like there's like two or three variables, but really, really useful when you want to kind of get things done. That's majorly it on like when you kind of create a post, right? I'm going to get to the hashtags in a bit. And then the last thing is you can have like notes for a post. Hey, there's a post for promoting my course. Hey, there's a post for there's a historical record of performing well, so I expect this to perform well. So it just becomes easier. And for example, I'm just going to say that this post might do well, right? So I just added this. Right now it's in the draft. Okay. So now what you can do is if you go into the second thing, which is the schedule, it shows you which are the posts that are kind of scheduled for the week. And absolutely love this, right? Because you can, like for example, I have a post scheduled for Tuesday. Here it shows that this is the post that's scheduled about a certain graphic statistic, right? And it just gives you, overall overview of like how things are performing. You can also plan your week, right? So I have these set up these open slots. What the open slots in FeedHive are is that sometimes you don't want to think about what day I want to post a scare, a post, post something on LinkedIn or Twitter or what time or anything, right? You choose two slots which have which seem to work for you. For example, for me, like 4 to 5 p.m works really well because it overlaps the European and American time zones. um and I've generally observed that Mondays and Thursdays when I get like the most engagement within my audience. It could be different for yours, it could be a Sunday for you, it could be whatever, right? And once I have these open slots, I can also define which posts in which category get added to this slots. For example, on Mondays, anything that's kind of like motivational, when people are starting out the week, or anything that's a tip, right? That works fairly well as compared, to a critical thinking tip or a promotion that doesn't really work on Monday. So that's how I've segregated that. On Monday, it's either going to be motivation or a tip, and on Thursday, it's either going to be critical thinking or promotion, right? And then you can basically do that, right? So when I'm in the compose module, right, I can basically um, click on plan, right? And then it basically puts it to like the nearest available slot in that particular category. If you pick a time, then you can schedule the post. And if you post now, it just posts it immediately, right? But this schedule is quite helpful that way, right? And you can also see like the whole month schedule of like how things are going, and just gives you a very good high level overview. Now, if you come to the posts portion of it, um, what it shows you is that if this there's a common rule that what you post on your social media, only you remember that. Most of your followers would either not have seen it ever because you've gained new followers, or the existing 80% of them won't even remember that you posted it in the past, right? And sometimes a good post you can kind of recycle and post it again, right? And I really like that aspect because it just helps in consistently posting, right? You can also see all of the drafts. I have a lot of drafts, right? You can see 93 drafts, which are like, when I get an idea, I just add this in here and then I kind of refine it over time to post it. You can see the scheduled posts, right? So there's a scheduled one for tomorrow. You can see the historical post, which post, where do you post what labels, and then you can obviously filter by, if you're looking for a certain post or a certain category, you can do that and all of that. And then we come to the assets. So I really love the assets. So the assets are essentially, first is the media library. All of the images that you created for your social media posts kind of lie here. You can use that, you can reuse that, kind of like that, right? You can also use their stock photo library. So they've integrated with Unsplash, which is very, very helpful. Sometimes you don't want to download something from Unsplash, add it to FeedHive. It just reduces the time. So you can just search for something like, say, marketing, right? And it's going to find something for you, right? And then GIFs, like GIFs are always enjoyable, right? And they've thankfully integrated with a good tool, and you can find the one that works for you. The second thing is the hashtags within assets, right? So you can either create a group of hashtags. For example, there's a hashtag group that works for you within marketing or SaaS or baking or whatever, right? You can create a new group, right? So let's say, for example, the group is marketing, and I can just be like, um, you know, hashtag content marketing, hashtag, you know, SEO, and all sorts, and you can kind of create a group, right? You can also search how certain groups perform, right? So for example, I'm just going to click on marketing, right? And what it will do is it'll look at the entire hashtags database of Instagram and LinkedIn and show you the stats for it, right? So within hashtag marketing, there are 55 million posts on Instagram, 20 million on LinkedIn, right? And then you can essentially search for related hashtags, right? So if I'm just going to kind of click in here, so you can see now there's marketing, online business, and then you can essentially use that. This tool is super helpful if because hashtags really help you expand the reach of your post, right? So you want to ensure that the hashtags you use, that are most relevant to you, have like the highest coverage and just can get you. Sometimes it's almost like SEO. You just have to find the right hashtag that works, right? For example, these are like more specific, like more general, but like if you go a little further, right? Digital marketing terms is an interesting hashtag, right? Or social media marketer is another interesting one. So that's something you can do. The other thing that you can do is you can generate hashtags, right? So for example, this can be like absolutely love scheduling posts on my social media handles using FeedHive. So I'm going to click on generate and it's going to auto generate. And to be honest, like this hashtag generator sometimes generates relevant hashtags, sometimes it's not so great, right? But like in here, this is good, right? Like social media marketing, social media tips, all of that, right? And you can basically select all of these, right? And just kind of create a new group for social media or something, right? So this is a great hashtag kind of tool, right? And sometimes it also shows you hashtags based on the post that you're kind of pushing out, right? So for example, I post a lot about marketing and startups. It already automatically started showing these ones, right? Um, Now, the third part of this assets module is, like I said, you can recycle some of the posts, right? So these are like all of the posts. You can keep shuffling through them, right? Like shuffle which posts. These are the top performers, like the ones that perform really well. For example, how I write great content briefs. I remember got a lot of likes. So I can just go in here and recycle it, reuse it, put it in my calendar, and also shows you based on what category I chose. Tip, motivation, all of that, right? And then these are kind of like the underdogs, the post that didn't get a lot of attention. So, this happens a lot. Sometimes you create a post, you put a lot of heart and soul to, and it just reaches 20 people, right? And that's probably just because it was just bad timing of, sending out the post, maybe bad circumstances, whatever that is, right? And it makes sense to recycle them again so that your effort doesn't go wasted, right? And it shows you those ones. So this recycle one is pretty good, right? These are the user templates that is short, that you can, just copy paste into any of your posts, if you want to promote a course or a podcast or whatever. This one is like probably one of my favorite features within FeedHive. This is the idea inspiration board. And like the templates that I showed you, right? You can essentially, use it to kind of create something. For example, man, I don't have any ideas on what to post on a Monday on LinkedIn, right? So I'm just gonna kind of click on inspirational quotes, and then you have these inspirational quotes, right? Let's say I want to write about something motivation, right? And now it's like it shows you all motivation, like stuff in here, right? And then you can use these as a template. You can use that. So it's a great way to kind of find new ideas to post on LinkedIn. And sometimes, believe me, like of course the content needs to be written by you, but it gives you like a starting point. It's almost like if you're in a conference and someone asks you a question and you give them a terrific answer, and you're like, why the like you'd be just surprised by yourself that, oh my god, I had this information in my head. I should probably write an article about it. I should write a social media post about it. And this inspiration board just kind of gives you that kickstart. These are the labels, like I mentioned. You can create different labels. You can remove, delete, whatever. I really love the labels. And then these are the variables. Right? You can have certain variables. You can also have custom variables. Right? There's a little bit more of a pro feature, but you can um, you know just mess around with it. Sometimes if you want to have you want to mention a certain course. You have, let's say, 5 courses, and you want to decide which course to choose, depending on what social media platform you want something like. Variables are a good way to do that, right? And so this is kind of like everything around content, how to post something, or how to generate ideas, and how to maximize your reach on that, right? Once you've posted something, right, then we come to the activity section, which is kind of like what they call, there's a thing called social inbox. And this is another cool feature. You don't have to log in. Sometimes, you log into LinkedIn and Twitter, and then to see notifications, and then you just get lost and an hour goes away, right? You can avoid going into LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can just reply to people directly from here, right? So for example, on Twitter, I might have um, you know sometimes somebody replies something, so I can reply from here on LinkedIn. And what's even more awesome is you can actually have like shortcuts, so it can be like super quick and fast. And this is also helpful if you're running your support through social media as well, right? Like if people send in a lot of messages to your social media, you can just kind of manage this all here. um let's get to the configuration. So, what all social media tools are available here, right? So, I've integrated with Twitter, YouTube, Shorts, Instagram, LinkedIn. Um, what options I have are Instagram business, Facebook page, Facebook groups as well. So if you manage your own Facebook group, you can actually auto post stuff in there that every week, hey, here's an introduction to all of the members, introduce yourself, right? You can just automate that, and your Facebook group would just be an active, group without like much manual work from yourself, right? You can also post on Pinterest. You can post on TikTok. TikTok is a relatively new addition as I've kind of recorded this video, and Google My Business is coming very, very soon. Let's get to the settings. So, of course, you can have a 24-hour clock. You can define if the week starts on Sunday or Monday. You can have a time zone. um, you can let your drafts be shown in the schedule calendar, right? And there's just, if there's a post, that tweet that goes out, you can set it to be auto retweeted, right? Like all of these are things that and if there's a particular social media platform that's kind of like your main social media platform, you can just select the default social in here. So like in case if you forget to put the social media platform while scheduling a post, like I have done in the past, it'll automatically select the default social one, right? And then yeah, and then sometimes if a post fails, you can choose to get an email about it, and this happens, sometimes an API breaks, sometimes an integration breaks. It might happen, but it happens very, very less, and that's what I love about FeedHive. um, the integration hardly breaks. Like my issue with Buffer and the other tools is that I have to resync my integration with LinkedIn like every couple of weeks, right? And it's annoying, and that resyncing usually happens when a post fails to go out, and then like my whole time is wasted, right? So that's what I absolutely hate. But yeah, I mean that's essentially it. They've also got like very good user guides. Like I think their support documentation is pretty awesome. Like you can pretty much go into deep into how to kind of make the post conditions work, the variables work, all of that, right? And by the way, there's also another thing, right? For like bigger teams, it also has like an approval workflow, right? So for example, what you can also have, that's why I just get to the settings in here. Just 1 second. So what you can do here is that you can add more people to your profile, right? And um, and once you add more people, right, you can essentially put a user permit, like one can be the admin, the other one can be, let's say, like the like a marketer, right? And whatever post they schedule, right, they will not go out until you approve it for them, right? That's super helpful, if you're a CEO, and if someone's using your own LinkedIn profile, you want to ensure that all of the posts at least go through a manual review by you. You can kind of do that. So there's a whole post about it in here in the university about how to set up the approval workflow, but it's a very cool feature. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is analytics, right? So it has some very good analytics about your Twitter, so you can see how my follower activity has kind of been over the last 90 days. It just gives you a good overview of that. I haven't really grown much followers, so I'm not doing that well. I love this aspect. Which are the highest engaging posts, which are the ones that got the most impressions, and it gives you a good idea what works. And this is the bit that I was talking about. This is why labels are so helpful. It just shows you that the tips posts, work the best for me, and the motivation posts the second best, right? So I want to ensure that I want to include those. And just overall, like it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. There's your top 20% posts bring in 80% of the the rewards on social media, and so you just want to kind of double down on that. And yeah, I mean, like, it shows you the top tweet. On LinkedIn, however, I don't think personal profile analytics are supported yet, just because LinkedIn's API doesn't allow. But if you have a LinkedIn company page, it does give you some very in-depth analytics. You can also see for your Instagram and YouTube, there aren't any, um, again, any data available, but again, they're kind of working towards it. And the team ships things quite quickly. You'd see at least 4 or 5 new features added every month. And so this is a team that moves really, really fast. Okay. Yeah, and then if, let's say, for example, a post is published, you can get the notification here. If it doesn't, if there's an issue, then that. But that's majorly it about FeedHive, right? How much does FeedHive cost? So to be honest, it costs pretty much the same as most social media tools, probably on the lower side, right? So for example, the creator plan, if you're really just managing like 4 social profiles, and that's for $19 a month, and it's pretty good, because it has a lot of these modern features, like for example, I didn't show you this, but you can actually create a Twitter thread on its own, right? So for example, um, I'm just gonna take a longer post from me. Right? So yeah, let's say for example, I'm going to take this post. Just going to show this as an example, and I go in here, and if I select Twitter, right, and then I click on this, it shows you that this content is obviously way beyond the number of characters that Twitter allows. So it's going to split it automatically into a thread. And I mean, I just love this. Like, it just saves so much time, right? You can obviously add more comments in here and everything, but it just basically does everything for you, right? So I think for $19 a month, it has all of the latest trends about like Twitter threads are big, LinkedIn posting is big, Instagram reels and YouTube shorts are kind of like the next big thing. Short form content, posting regularly, posting, adding a comment to promote your course. All of these things are like relatively new in the social media world, which unfortunately other apps have not been able to catch on to, like the stalwarts of the industry. But FeedHive is actually doing pretty well on that. So they have all of those things you can schedule into the future, up to 14 days. So I mean, like, the creator and the brand are actually pretty good. But if you want more approval workflows, you can also consider the business plan. But it's pretty cheap. And then of course, if you go for an annual, it becomes a lot more cheaper. So $15, $22. But it's kind of like it saves you many, many, many hours a month on posting on these social media platforms. Um, yeah, I think that's majorly it in terms of what I feel. What's been my experience with FeedHive? It's been very, very helpful for me. Generally, because first, I started out with posting on LinkedIn and everything. I used to do it manually. It used to take more time. I started using a social media tool, but then the integrations would break, and then I started using FeedHive, and I just saw myself posting more and more. Like the difference was posting once, a week, to posting like 4 times a week, and posting some really, really good stuff. So for example, since I've started using FeedHive, my LinkedIn following has grown from like 1,000 followers to about 4,000 followers. Not a huge jump, but like still I'm pretty happy about it. With Twitter, it's been kind of okay, because I'm not very used to Twitter, but like with LinkedIn, it's been really great for me. And then also, like just because I've been posting more regularly, I've seen a lot of consulting gigs come in. I've also seen people kind of reach out to me saying that, hey, I've been seeing you posting more and more frequently. So, if you ask me, FeedHive, I'd say it's kind of like a solid um, 9 out of 10, right? I think the only thing that there's not a lot to dislike. It's very hard for me to give a 10 on 10. So I'm just trying to think what is the thing that I don't like, right? I think one thing is that, of course, um, the support, I mean, I think it's great. They do respond back in 2 to 3 hours, but like I don't have instant support. But I think they're rolling it out soon. So I think that issue is there. Oh, right. So the one thing is that I don't have LinkedIn personal analytics, right? And that's the thing that I miss quite a bit. So I have to use another tool called Shield, which is another, whatever, 15 to 20 bucks a month. So ideally I'd love that, but it's more like nitpicking, I don't think there's anything wrong with FeedHive as such. I think overall everything's pretty great. So it's a solid 9 out of 10. Um, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review about FeedHive. Drop any comments with any questions. I'll be happy to answer those. And if you liked FeedHive, you can basically sign up for my link, and you help support in kind of creating this free content and giving you a very educational overview of what FeedHive looks like. All right, have a wonderful day. Take care.